lowest is 24.55 shillings per share. Those are globally accepted models of valuation of shares. So if anyone else tells you that the market share of Safaricom is at 80 shillings or at 90 or whatever price it is, ask them which valuation model they are using. And if they can prove to us which method they use, then you can say that this share has been either undervalued or overvalued or whatever value they are going to create. Secondly, when I talk about this value per share, I was speaking to someone over the weekend and saying me, if it is true that the market value of Safaricom is say 50 shillings per share, and yesterday it was traded at 29.55 shillings per share, then there are more than 10 billion shares owned by private citizens in the market which are trading freely at the Nairobi Securities Exchange. So if you placed an order tomorrow and you say, I want to buy 10 billion shares at 50 shillings, you will get all those shares because those people will be willing to offload those shares to you. And anybody from Kenya, from anywhere across the globe, can willingly trade in our shares at Nairobi Securities Exchange. And that, again, is a stubborn fact. Next. What are some of the comparison valuation mechanisms that have been used? Standard Investment Bank, an independent bank, in May 2005, did valuation using discounted cash flows based on 5-year estimates for the GSA business and a mix of EV and EBITDA, that is earnings before interest and tax, and market capitalization to revenue for the financial services, and they valued that shares at that 6.38. Feeder Investment Bank, again in May 2005, valued those shares at 24.8 shillings. NCBA Bank valued Safaricom shares at 27.63. And Kipra valued them at 27, using the value added, when using market share price in January, and 36, using market price share in March 2021. This is before the decree. This is before the investment in Ethiopia. Again, these are valuation from independent institutions using their own models. Next. So we're saying, what are some of the key assumptions that have been made on this Safaricom thing? That we're saying that there will not be any major operation of financial shocks. The dividend policy will remain unchanged. There's going to be modest nominal growth. There'll be proportional dividend distribution. That Kenya shareholding would be reduced to 20%. No extra dividends. Stable macroeconomic and regulatory framework, and figures presented in nominal shillings without discounting. Lastly, there is another concept again. So what Vodacom again is offering government of Kenya, if we offtake these shares from you, you are assured of receiving dividends every year. And you will receive dividends, say, for the next 6 years. So in lieu of the dividends that you're supposed to receive, they are saying, we will pay you that money in advance, upfront. What does that mean? Go to the next. So it means that if we take all the money that we're supposed to receive in the next six years, assuming the same dividend payout ratio, we would have received 66 billion shillings in the next 6 years. Next. But how much are we receiving now? And I want to take this time to address that question. So we would have received 66 billion shillings in the next 6 years. How much are we receiving now in lieu of that dividend? 40 billion shillings. That is the offer on the table. What does that mean? Are we taking a loss? Are we taking a profit? For that, you need to ask yourself, if you were to take a loan of 40 billion shillings now, because we're not receiving that 40 billion shillings now, we receive it in the next 6 years, what will be the present value of that money now? And to take the present value, you use 1 plus expected rate of return, then you multiply the number of years. No, the 55 divided by 1 plus R is the growth rate multiplied by 2 power 6, that is the number of years. It would mean that the value of that money that you're supposed to receive in future now is 29.3 billion shillings. That is the difference between present value and future value. 40 billion shillings in 6 years is worth 29 billion shillings now because of what we call discounting for present value and future value. To put in other ways, we're saying, if you received cash today, you'll receive 40 billion. In 6 years, that dividend will have received 55 billion shillings. With a funding cost of around 5.6% per annum, and if you take the market sovereign yield at 11.3 million shillings, it means the present value of that 55 is 29. So actually, we are taking a gain by receiving that money now and not in future, using this simple calculation. Next. Next. I think we're done with that. So I hope that we have gone through this mathematics of what does it mean now to receive the dividend in the future, and what does it mean if you receive that money in 6 years. Number two, I hope I've been able to take you through the calculations and you have understood what that valuation per share would actually mean. However, what are the gray areas on this particular transaction? And this is what I want to conclude with. The communication from a speaker was very, very critical. When this paper was tabled, when the second paper was tabled on 5th of December at the House, the speaker made a communication, and I want to pay attention to this communication, and said the counting of days that are required for Parliament to make a decision will start on 10th of February. What does the PFM Act say about that very important date? The PFM Act says when a sessional paper for divestiture of shares is tabled into Parliament, it must be considered in the House within 28 sitting days. And what does it mean if Parliament does not approve or reject or make a decision on that? It means that that sessional paper would have deemed to be approved. Therefore, members, if you make whichever decision you make, you must make it within 28 sitting days. And what does sitting days mean? If Parliament sits on a Tuesday morning and Tuesday afternoon, those are how many days? And therefore, calculating these days, if you go straight on, we have up to, Cynthia, we have up to, go straight on, we calculate these days. We had up to, I think, some date in March. Where is it? We have up to 26th of March to make a decision. We have 3 decisions to make. We can approve the sessional paper as it is, without amendments. We can reject the sessional paper as it is, or we can amend that sessional paper. So those are the 3 decisions that we must make. And you must make that decision before 26th of March. And if you do not make that decision by the 26th of March, then that decision would have deemed to be approved by Parliament. Again, what are some of we started, yes, in terms of processes also, we started stakeholder engagements for the last 2 weeks. We post for this week to attend this particular discussion. Then next week on Tuesday, and I will be sharing that with honorable members because it's very important, we are doing public participation and civic education in 30 counties. So I'll share those counties with you and the dates and the venues so that at least please members help us mobilize yourself and members of the committee to come and attend those public participation hearings. But what are the gray areas here? The sessional paper says that this money will be spent on critical and viable infrastructure projects. But here is a challenge. As it is now, if this Honorable House approves this partial divestiture and that transaction is complete, where will that payment be made to? The money will be deposited into the consolidated fund services account. When money goes to CFS account, has no discretion of, it doesn't matter what the PS wants to pay. There is order, first charge, second charge, third charge. So, and I heard the PS talk about infrastructure fund, but is there a legal framework for that fund yet? And I know the PS is here, he will respond to that particular question. So our concern so far, and the concerns of the members of the public is, if this money is deposited to the consolidated fund services account, There is no legal framework or legal guarantee that that money will go to be spent on key infrastructure projects. And therefore, it's very important that as we make a decision on this, we are guaranteed, or we make the framework to guarantee that that money will go to the infrastructure projects that the government is talking about. It is not enough to talk about that's going to go into infrastructure. It is important to have a clear legal framework that guarantees. And I think we could be back to where we were in 2024 with the housing levy. Remember when you passed the Finance Act of 2023 and created a housing levy. What was telling in court was said, we have created a housing levy for affordable housing. But what guarantees that that levy will go towards paying for affordable housing? So we had to come back later in the year and do the Affordable Housing Act that now created the Affordable Housing Fund that now guarantees your housing levy, you are sure that inatoka kwa payslip, inaenda kwa fund that goes to build those particular projects. So Treasury is here to demonstrate to us that this money actually has a legal framework that guarantees that it will go towards creating that infrastructure fund that they're talking about, and that has to be through a legal framework, not just by saying. Number two, a question is asked, which law should have been followed in terms of privatization? And people are saying we should follow the Privatization Act. Unfortunately, the Privatization Act exclusively excludes partial divestiture of government shares from following the Privatization Act. So the Privatization Act cannot be used in partial divestiture. However, the exclusion of following the Privatization Act in terms of privatization does not exclude this particular transaction from other laws. And what does other laws say about disposal of public assets? There is a PFM Act, which is very critical. And the PFM Act, again, remember, is even anchored in our Constitution. And what does the PFM Act say? That for any divestiture or sale of government shares to private, there must be absolute approval of National Assembly. Not Parliament, National Assembly. And that is why this decision is before this House. So in terms of procedure, in terms of legal procedure about this particular partial divestiture, it was not a boardroom conversation. What you have now is a proposal by executive asking Parliament to approve for this particular partial divestiture. And that is exclusively and well provided for under the PFM Act. So in terms of following legal procedure, there has not been any breakage of any law because no decision has been made. If this Honorable House, for example, decides that they are not going to approve this particular partial divestiture to Vodacom, the transaction will be dead. There cannot be any sale of these shares if there is no absolute approval of the National Assembly. So when people say that no, there was a boardroom conversation, all conversation must start from somewhere. Once it starts from somewhere, it goes to cabinet. Once cabinet approves, they bring to National Assembly. And until National Assembly approves, that is when the transaction will be complete. So if the Honorable House rejects this particular transaction on the floor, then that transaction will be dead. So honorable members, I've tried the best I can to be as objective and to be as I can on this particular matter. But that is a decision we have. So we have identified for us, the Joint Committee, our biggest gray area is how do we guarantee that this money will go towards funding infrastructure and critical projects as provided for in the session paper. Without any further legal framework, without regulations, and without creating that infrastructure fund framework as per the law, then that money will go to consolidated fund services and it could go to pay anything, including debt, interest, or paying of salaries. But in terms of procedure, we are so far satisfied that the procedure was followed, the valuation has been given, and now the decision lies solely in the, to this House. I don't know whether we have that for the counties, for the... Yes, so this is why we are going to be in the next 2 weeks. We are doing public participation in 30 counties, So we are starting on next week on Tuesday at KICC Nairobi at 10 a.m. Then you go to Mandera, Machakos, Nyandarua, Nakuru, Wajia, Kitui, Nyeri, Kericho, Kirinyaga, Baringo, Kisumu, Embu, Murang'a, Kakamega, West Pokot, Tharaka Nithi, Kiambu, Vihiga, Uasin Gishu, Nandi, Meru, Kisii, Taita Taveta, Kajiado, Samburu, Homa Bay, Mombasa, Kilifi, and Kwale. So please check, and we circulate this in our forum. Please check when you are coming to your county, where we are going for the venue, and please mobilize your people to come and give their views, because their views are very important. Our constitution says there cannot be such a decision that can be made without public participation. I thank you, honorable members.
Another round of applause for Honorable Kimani. Yes, Honorable Kimani Kuria, you tried to carry members apart from one slide where you lost them in the summations and the intrinsic value, but they are back. Mr. Speaker, if you allow us, we can go to the plenary before.
Yes, we can go to the
Because Honorable Shuria's presentation was to be done together with Honorable Kimani. Yes. So honorable members,
do plenary
for Dr. Chris,
1 hour.
for 1 hour. We have a lot of time, honorable members. Let me start with the first three, this side, first three here, and first three here. I will start with the Honorable Faith, I'll go to Honorable Karoli, and I will go to Honorable Basil. On this end, I will start with Honorable Bishop Kosgei, Honorable Sunkuli, and Honorable Kamene. On this end, Honorable Amudende, Honorable Shinali, and Honorable Salasia, in that order. Get the microphones. We will do another round. Be patient. We'll do another round. We start with Honorable Faith. Honorable members, let us keep the conversations as low as possible so that we hear the questions.
Thank you very much. And thank you for those two presentations from our PS and our very own KK. Mine goes to Bwana PS Chris Kipto about pending bills. I know you mentioned, but you didn't conclude on this issue. The status of pending bills is a great concern to Kenyans. Verified bills remain unpaid to date for many years. Please tell Kenyans when you intend to pay the verified ones, because they've been pending for even more than 5 years. Businesses are suffering. Businesses are cash trapped. Please save Kenyans from this very difficult situation and assure them when you are going to pay pending bills. Thank you very much.
Next is Honorable Karoli.
Thank you very much, Honorable Speaker. Let me begin by inquiring from both the Chair and the PS whether the constitutional principles under Article 10 and Article 232 on management of public resources were complied with. In particular, whether there's an independent market survey study selecting which method of divestiture would yield the best returns for the public. Because here we have a block sale to an existing shareholder, but that is not the only divestiture method. We could have offered that to competition, we could have gone to further public flotation. The first thing that we would like to see as a house is an independent market survey report telling us this is the best pathway to divest shares of government. Secondly, Article 206 and the Constitution are very clear that resources received from divestiture or these other revenue streams must go into a fund. If it is an infrastructure fund, as you have said, it must be established by an act of parliament. I am not aware that we have any infrastructure fund established by an act of parliament. What I've heard is that there's a company incorporated to receive this money, which by itself, I believe, is an illegality. I would like to hear what the correct position from Treasury is on this. And finally, if we have been offered, this offer has been made by Vodacom to us, and we have to accept it by 26th day of March. I am aware there'll be dividends of about 7 to 9 billion paid out this
Honorable
year.
members, we avoid speeches and long questions.
After that particular date, who will receive the dividends that pertain to the 15% stake that the government is divesting? Thank you very much.
Very well. Basil?
Thank you, Speaker, and thank you to our good presenter, Honorable Kimani. My question is in regard to the 40 billion advance dividends. If you look at the way you arrive at the 40 billion, I want to get clarity from Honorable Kimani how he arrived at the 40 billion advance dividend while taking into consideration the market forces which determine the performance of a company. So I think that is my question. Again, in terms of the method that he has outlined, the methods are not exhaustive because we have several methods of valuing shares. So I think he needs to, that's a comment to him because he only talked of 4, but those 4 are picked from the several outlined methods to calculate the value of shares. Thank you.
Thank you. To our presenters, kindly note the areas. If you need to delegate, note the areas also. Bishop?
Thank you, Sessional Chair. Thank you, PS, for the insightful presentation. We are more learned after this. I have only one question. When I saw in the ranking of nations that are ahead of us in terms of their capacity in their economy, majority of them got a lot in connection with their natural resource revenue, more than us. And even the big economies in the world, including China, Russia, and also USA and other countries, their economies looks like they are being boosted by the same natural resource revenue. In your budget and in your proposals, there is no clear indication that you would like this country to focus on our natural resources so that it can pack up our economy. What are you planning or envisioning as a Ministry of the National Treasury on that? Because we have potentials in this country. Mr. Speaker, you can see we have potentials of gold, we have oil, we have several others. And can't we, at one point, focus in exploiting that? Thank you.
Thank you. Honorable Sunkuli.
Madam Chair, Mr. Speaker, I just have 2 concerns. One, to ask the PS about the equalization fund. Now, what happens with the equalization fund? Is the money there ring-fenced? Is it kept separately? And does it flow from one financial year to the other, or it ends as soon as the financial year ends? And the second concern I have, now that our able chair has raised this issue about the consolidated fund, and it is very clear the way he has put it in his eloquence, that under the Constitution, the consolidated fund has charges. The first charge, the second charge, and if you are going to put money there, definitely it is going to be controlled by the rules of the consolidated fund. Now, which one will come first? Will it be the establishment of the infrastructure fund or the passing of the sessional paper? So that we know that once we pass the sessional paper, then we know where the money will actually be rightfully lying.
Thank you. Honorable Kamene.
Thank you, thank you. Mine is just one question I've observed when committee chair was giving his calculations on how they arrived to the sales of the shares. And I just want to, I've just been asking myself, recently we had the Portland. shares that were being sold. And it came out very clearly. And in the committee, we did ask, what formula are we using? At the market, the shares were at 61, and they were sold at 29. And SSF shares were sold. What formula, what methodology was used? We are there, we brought that question in Parliament, and somehow it was dilly-dallied, and it was not taken forward. The mischief behind these sales of this is what is wanting. Kenya is a corrupt country, and we know that. And it is no secret about it. What are we going to, how are we going to ensure? Hii pesa yote, and with our good names of infrastructure and everything, it will be used in the right way. Asante.
Very
And
well.
why were our shares sold at throwaway price?
Very well. Wamudende.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. My question is...
Kindly don't raise more hands. We are doing one round. We'll have the presenters address them, then we'll do another round. Be patient. Honorable Wamudende.
Yeah, my questions, one is the pending bills. Has the ministry tried to correlate the relationship between maybe pending bills and non-compliance in tax? Because Kenyans are owed a lot of money, which has affected businesses, which could also be affecting the collection in revenue. Number two, if we look at KRA, for example, we have VAT which becomes due at the point of invoicing, yet government pays sometimes in 6 months, 1 year. So do you have a mechanism to protect suppliers or even contractors? Because when VAT becomes due, already when KRA is facing you, you are like a villain. Is it possible for VAT to be due, especially for government contractors, at the time you are paid? Because you invoice today, you are paid sometimes after 2 years. That's on VAT. Then on
How
the
many
Safaricom
questions,
saying-
Wamudende? You've already asked two questions.
It's a very important question. One, is there something like preemptive rights or rights of first refusal for existing shareholders? Probably that could have led to government considering Vodacom as the first person to offer those shares, so that we avoid the talk that is going on about going out to auction when there are already existing shareholders who have a right to buy Safaricom. Thank you.
Very well. Shinali,
Thank you, Madam Chair.
keep it precise.
I want to be precise, Madam Chair, in terms of privatization of public companies or facilities. Madam Chair, there is the issue of when we are selling our shares in public companies, we need to look at the issue of control of market. I want to take one case in particular of EABC, East African Portland Cement, Madam Chair, where one company, Kalahari Cement from Tanzania, is purchasing shares of Holcim Limited of 41.5% in Bamburi. The shares on the market is 58, and the Holcim through Associated International and Cementia associate companies are selling at 27 through a private arrangement. This is where the government of Kenya through NSSF owns 27%.
Honorable Shinali, don't do a presentation because we are still waiting for the question.
Yeah, I want to put the question, Madam Chair. Madam Chair, through the sale, the government of Kenya is losing 781 million because on the market is 58, and through a private sale, without consultation, without public participation, they are selling at 27. And NSSF also, the matter is in court, but it's also selling at 27%, 27 shillings. While on the market, NSC, it's 58. We would not like to know why. And the 6% owned by the public, have this public been involved in the whole process, Madam Chair? That's what we would like to know. And how much shares owned by Treasury at 25% was sold at, so that we can arrive at the total amount that Kenyans are losing through this process, which we have not seen an independent evaluation, which we have not seen a report from Competition Market Authority.
Honorable Shinali. Thank you. Salasia?
My concern is not about the share pricing, Madam Chair. My concern is on decision-making organ of the institution as Safaricom. You all know that you cannot put a well-performing company on and try to dilute the shares, because you know that Safaricom plays a very is a strategic investment in this country. So trying to put it on to dilute its shares, it is going to affect its performance going forward, because we are stripping off the assets or the capital and put into other things. So I want to stand here to challenge the Bwana PS that it's not prudent to reduce the government say, because we know government relies on Safaricom and on many areas, and we must know the fundamentals of Safaricom, that it's not about making profit, but how strategic it is to this country. So when a PS trying to interfere with the Safaricom, you are going to mess up. Like yesterday, even SHA relies on Safaricom, everything relies on Safaricom. So honorable members, I want to ask you, don't even bother to listen about the pricing. It is not about the pricing. We have a company like Mumia Sugar that was performing so well before it was put on NSC. But because it was put there, it interfered with the decision-making organ. And that is how it led to its collapse. So, honorable members, please reject this thing called stripping off the government investment. Thank you so much, Madam Speaker.
We'll give the PS. There was no question. We'll give the PS. We'll give the PS to make to answer those. If you need assistance from your team, you can request for it, and Honorable KK will also respond to a few of them. Then we will take another round. I've already directed so.
Mr. Speaker and honorable members, before I answer some of the questions, I would like to introduce members of my team from Treasury. We have Albert Mwenda. He's the Director General in charge of Budget, Economic and Fiscal Affairs. Then we have Stephen Ikiki, who is the Director in charge of Public Investment Management. And then we have Mr. Bett, who is in charge of Parliamentary Liaison. Is in charge of matters parliament. So, Honorable Faith, your question was on pending bills. And I would like to report that a pending bills verification committee was appointed and gazetted to finalize work by last year. But we had to give additional time because the workload was more. And their mandate ended in December last year. So we have now a report that has been presented to us, which we are getting ready to present to Cabinet for approval on the next step. The figures I have seen is that of the 660 billion that were given to the committee, they have managed to recommend for payment about 255 billion. Out of that 255 billion, 80 billion is to the road sector. And that has already been settled through the securitization of RMLF. So we have a balance of 175 billion, which is we are going to take to Cabinet, and it's our intention that we allocate financing and bring to you for approval in Parliament in this supplementary. And if our fiscal framework can accommodate the entire amount, we will do so. If not, we will also have part of it to be settled in July, the next, so that we clear it in 2 fiscal years. It is our intention to clear everything verified, because we are also aware that many entities are really suffering because they have not been paid. And so that is why it is very high on agenda. Honorable Karoli, I think in the independent market survey, I thought FCPA chairman, Mr. Honorable Kuria, did very well by actually bringing the formulas here. I am a person from economics and finance, and I fully concur on the valuation approaches he presented and the numbers that came out there, because I think I have also interacted with them. So if you look at the volume, what we call volume of weighted average price for the last 6 months before the time when we went for the valuation, you will see that average price was showing 27.5 shillings. And you saw the market price that was given there was around 24. I think the highest was 36. What was eventually agreed with the Vodacom was 34 shillings, which is, so this sale is being done at premium of 23.7%. And I know the prices may have changed from that time, so that what you see in the market may be lower, but you will see that it is above 17%, selling at a premium. So here we are getting value for money. And then early dividend, you also saw, it was shown clearly. You are getting 40 billion early in advance, and you pay 55 in 6 years. So if you took 40 billion now, assuming you took a debt, you would find that you would, the mathematics is short. Maybe someone should show us that slide, because those figures were very correct.
Honorable Karoli, what is out of order?
There is the independent market survey, which is what you asked.
Mr. Speaker, under our Constitution, and Article 232 and Article 10, there are principles of public finance management. Before any discussion should have started on the sale of government stake, the government should have done a survey listing all the pathways to divestiture and analyzing each of those pathways, their pros and cons, and the most likely yields that they would bring if government divested 15% of its shares in Safaricom. What we have here is an exclusive arrangement. And I gave the example that even though it is a block sale to an existing shareholder, suppose the 15% shares were offered to other telco operators or to other institutional investors, which one would have given us a more competitive edge as a government? That is the question I'm asking. It is not the valuation methods. I understand those. I'm not interested in the valuation methods. I'm interested in the divestiture options that the government should have first.
Point
started.
made and it's clear.
So that's the answer I want. Yeah.
So I want to confirm that we actually did that in-house. By the time we made this decision to go for a premium and giving to Vodacom, we had done that. Because if we offered to the public, most likely we would be selling at a discount, not at a premium. And that is what we worked out. If we want to market and give to the rest of the 25%, we would be selling at a discount. So discount means we would be even lower than 24.5. It will be at a lower value of 24.5. But here we have negotiated for the best price, 34 shillings, which is 24% higher. And you can prove us wrong by telling us that we would be selling it at a premium to the public, to the other shareholders. Yeah, we can do that in our in-house because I have the director there, he's taking note. Honorable Basil, you also asked the same thing on 40 billion. And I think we were given here that presentation that was here, which showed that 40 billion is good because you would be getting a price of, borrowing at 5.6%, as opposed to the price, which would be at around 11%, if you were to get the same money from the market. Let's say you do a sovereign bond. And if you do market, what we call present value of that 40 billion, it would be 29 billion. Compared to 40, you would be getting, you see, you are getting a net present value of 10.6 billion. So whichever way you look at it, this is a good offer. And we carefully looked at it. And these mathematics showing here are clear. The cash flow shows that 40 billion today we take. And then we will pay 55 billion in 6 years. So the implied cost of funds would be that you would pay only 5.6%. But the market survey, if you look at it, if you are to compare with what is in the sovereign yield, you would be paying 11.3%. So which one is better? We are getting a better deal. 5.6 is better than 11.3%. Then if you take the present value of 55 billion at say 11.3%, which is the sovereign yield, you would be getting 29. In other words, 55 billion that we are getting in 60 that will be in 6 years, today it would be 29.3 billion. But today we are getting 40. So we are getting 11 billion more. Someone can challenge us whether that is wrong or right, but I think we are very right, and these mathematics are clear. And what about the future value of 40 billion? Assuming that you invest in the sovereign, in the market at 11.3%, this would give you 76 billion. But you are paying how much? You are going to pay 55 instead of 76. So you are going to pay less. And so the gap is 20 billion. The facts speak for themselves. Numbers are stubborn. And they never lie. Honorable Bishop, you saw that in the presentation I made. I think if you can show the presentation I made on the economy, the sectors of the economy. It was just a second slide. So you have our economy. I don't know if it's shown. Can you show it? But the point is, our economy is diversified, and there is no one economy that we rely on. If there is a shock, we would really suffer. We would not suffer because it is diversified. Most of it are services, most of it is agriculture, and we don't have minerals. If you look at this, agriculture is 22.5%. Then transport is 12.7. Real estate, 8.4. Financial services, 7.9. Wholesale, look at construction. In fact, what we would say in minerals, which other countries like Nigeria, like South Africa, and even Egypt have, we don't have. And yet, we have done well in those areas. I think for us it is good that we don't have one sector that we have to rely on. South Africa, if you go to the next slide, if you look at Nigeria, Nigeria used to be number one economy in Africa for many years. But where is it now? It is number 4 because it lost a lot when it came to prices of oil going down. And because it's heavily dependent on oil, its GDP has shrunk. For us, because it's diversified, we have done well. Now, go back again to the next slide, the previous slide. We are doing a lot to also focus on the minerals and general natural resources. And the incentives we have given in the last 3 years are beginning to show, to bear fruit. We have supported the Ministry of Mining with one-off budget, 2 years, I think 2024-25. We gave them about 2.6 billion, and you approved in Parliament, to be able to invest in a number of important areas like lab testing, recruitment of technical staff. Look at this report that shows which sectors grew in 2025. Fastest. This is mining. If you look at there, mining in that quarter, in the third quarter, grew by 11, I don't know whether you can see that number. 16.9. And the previous quarter, it was 15.3, which shows that the work we are doing on mining and quarrying is beginning to bear fruit. And we know that we have a lot of deposits. In fact, if you go to Kwale and many other areas, there's a lot that we can have. So we could be able to expand our GDP by focusing more on this. But my point is, we don't have one economy that if a shock came, we would suffer. And this is why we pride ourselves that we are a resilient economy. Anytime a shock comes, we are able to recover. We bounce back quickly. And Honorable Sunkuli, on the Equalization Fund, I think maybe I can arrange to give a proper report on this so that you see, because it also comes to you for approval. But our Equalization Fund board is managing these funds, and we normally, what you vote, we are able to prioritize. But we know that it's been lagging behind. But I'll give a proper report on this. So, which one will go first? We are working, the initial plan was that since you passed the GOE bill, we would set up the infrastructure fund through the Companies Act. And that does not take long. And we would expect that we'll come back to Parliament. Once you you approve the fund, we still bring to you to approve. And we would then have an account at the central bank to deposit and only use it on the projects that you have approved. We know that we are doing public participation, and we are amenable to also better proposals on this item, and therefore it's a matter that we can also quickly work around it to make sure that we address any matter before the time frame that is there. And this is something we are doing in concurrence. So we'll do further consultation quickly and see how to address this matter. Honorable Kamene, I think I would need to get the facts on this issue of Portland, unless Mr. Ikiki, you have any facts now. I would agree, I would request that I come back to you on the appropriate questions on this. Honorable Wamutende, pending bills I think I have answered. And on the issue of whether we should delay payment of VAT, we cannot do that because the laws that this House enacts are the ones that the citizens use. So KRA has no legal power to suspend payment of VAT until pending bills are paid. Unfortunately, we have to operate. What we are doing now is to work very hard to avoid further accumulation of pending bills. And you saw we have demonstrated this in the last few years. The last year, June, the last fiscal year, 24-25, we managed to pay all pending bills. I mean, we gave all the exchequer requirements, 100%. We paid CDF, we paid counties, we paid everyone, and we did not have any carryovers to this fiscal year. So far, we have made a lot of progress, and I think if you check with most MDAs, they have received their exchequer, including Parliament. If there are any delays, there may be just few, but I give you assurance we are going to be paying. And we are working hard to make sure by June this year, we will also settle all exchequer requirements that are supposed to be issued based on the budget that you have approved. So we have, and then we have gone to accrual accounting.
Majority Leader.
Thank you, Speaker, and the chairperson of this session. PS, on a point of order, and I hear you, that you have released exchequer, you have done exchequer releases for payment of pending bills. And you know the National Treasury is a super ministry. And you're also a super PS to the extent of the powers that you have at the National Treasury. You also know that our laws obligate accounting officers in ministries and MDAs to ensure that pending bills are the first charge to the exchequer. And I think that is where we are going wrong. Because you are releasing money to ministries and MDAs, but because of corrupt practices in those ministries and MDAs, accounting officers are not settling pending bills. And that is the bottom line. And I'll tell you, because I spoke here on Tuesday, and I pleaded with these members to offer meaningful oversight over the executive. Because when you release money, for instance, to pay pending bills, and some of your colleagues then use the money they have to try and extort money from suppliers and hold back on payments, that is where we are going wrong. And you have an opportunity, and I want to challenge you as a PS in charge of the National Treasury, that before further release of expenditure, exchequer to MDAs, you must ensure then that those MDAs first have settled pending bills. I have instances, and you know, yesterday we had a long discussion here that some people want to try and turn political, and I am not interested in politics. What we are interested in is what we said we will offer meaningful oversight. If textbooks were not being paid for because publishers are not being paid, and now we want to extort publishers, and I want you to speak to some of the agencies that are dealing with some of these issues, PS, because there's a lot of extortion rings hanging around ministries with some of your accounting officers, and I think it is only you from the National Treasury who can enforce the law, that you will not release any further exchequer to ministries that are not settling pending bills. And the same with our county governments, because the bulk of pending bills, again, are being held by county governments for the same reasons. Governors and the accounting officers want to withhold money until they are able to extort money from people who have already delivered services, goods and services to the county governments. The National Treasury and the Comptroller of Budget, you have a responsibility to ensure that they all adhere to the law. If pending bills are the first charge to the exchequer, so be it. And it is only you, from where you sit and the cabinet secretary in the National Treasury, because as I said, you have your super CSAs, super PSAs, because of the powers that reside in the National Treasury, to ensure that that is enforced. Otherwise, we will continue with these suckers. Faith Gitawas about the same pending bills, every other member you hear. And it's because many of the people they represent come to them asking me, oh, help me to get this payment here and there. But these members have no way of getting help. And it's those extortion rings that you must crack and break up, Honorable PS.
Thank you.
Now that I have that opportunity, Chair, if I could just use that to supplement one question. In relation to what Honorable Karoli Omondi was asking, there could have been other alternative proposals or pathways for the partial divestiture of Safaricom, as Honorable Karoli says. And maybe this is opportunity you would tell Kenya or Kenyans and the world if there is anybody with an alternative pathway that can deliver a higher value. Are you opposed to it, or would you welcome it? The same way, if those who are using other market valuations that are not the conventional economic models that we have been shown by our very intelligent chair of finance, and this is actual real intellect now, leave alone the other street intellect that you hear out there. But even that street intellect, if they have a different model that is not known, that can value the share to the 45 and 50 shillings they are telling us, would you be welcoming it?
Yes, I would want to answer your question that as National Treasury, we would welcome any option that would enable Kenyans to get a better value to what we have managed to get through ceding the 15% to Vodacom. So that I confirm, and we are willing to accept anything better. Now, to answer your question, Majority Leader, I want to say two things. One is that we have a circular to all accounting officers that any pending bills that you did not settle the previous year, they become first charge in the budget that Parliament has approved. And that we expect that, like in the last financial year, we do not expect. May I finish so that I can give the
Let
members?
us indulge this, the PS just for a minute, just
now,
conclude.
That's number one. Number two is that we have instituted reforms as Treasury to deal with any accounting officer who misapplies funds we have released and then uses it to pay what they do not submit to us as evidence of requiring payment. So we call it twinning. So if you ask for exchequer, you cannot ask for exchequer without showing which items or which contractor. And once we pay, there is no way an accounting officer can pay. If they do that, please give us the evidence and we will take appropriate action. And I think it's not even Treasury who should do it, because that would now be like an issue also of Parliament that should ask why they are flouting the rules. It is not possible that once we release, you can go and misapply. It used to happen before, but not now. So I want to give that assurance. And I think I have answered that question. So, Honorable Shinyali, can I proceed, Honorable Speaker? Okay.
Let the PS finish the answers, then we'll take another round. Because I know many are using the points of orders to raise other questions.
So I have indicated about the issue of East African portals that we will give a comprehensive reply to the questions raised. And then, Honorable Salisha, we have taken note of what you have said. I think we have nothing to say as Treasury. All we ask is to say whatever we have presented to Parliament, we are seeking for Parliament to approve. And for the public, where public consultation is going on, we are seeking that the public supports this proposal that we have given. But we will go with what Parliament decides. I think I have finished.
Honorable KK, kindly make your responses, then we will take another round of questions.
Thank you very much, Sessional Chair. I'll just take a few minutes. So on the issue of the existing shareholding. And I think PS tried to explain this, and I want to just explain that a bit further. Vodacom has been a shareholder of Safaricom since its inception. So when you want to negotiate for someone else to buy your business, you are better off negotiating with an existing shareholder who understands the business. So if you get someone else from outside and they come, there are chances that they will disrupt the entire model of this business. So Vodacom has been a partner with us since Safaricom started their operations in Kenya. On the issue of, it's a very strategic asset. Why are we selling it? I want to ask members to think like this. The only thing that is changing is a percentage of shareholding. Nothing else stops happening. And there are concerns like this that were raised during the public participation saying Safaricom holds a lot of data. So what happens when this data is now held by a private entity? Airtel, for example, is a completely foreign-owned company that does the same business. All these other entities that operate in Kenya, including most of the major banks, are international banks that are international in terms of, that are foreign in terms of shareholding. That does not stop them from following our laws and for example, whether it is our data protection laws, whether it is all the rules and laws of Kenya. So the changing in shareholding does not change in any way the operation of this particular entity. And then lastly, as you may recall, on the elections, yes, this was also raised, and one of the members have texted me that question here. We rely on Safaricom for sure, and rely on Safaricom on relaying of election results. But then, honorable members, the changing of shareholding does not change anything, because again, they will still have to operate through the laws of the land. So there is no exemption you are giving that once now, because you own 20% and now you own 55%, that you have to change in terms of how you operate in the land. I think those who are my yes. I think someone answered us about preemptive rights. We did ask Safaricom PLC to provide their articles of association and the memorandum, and we actually confirmed there is nothing that gives the existing shareholders what's called preemptive, yes, not preemptive, it's preemptive rights. I thank you.
Thank you very much. We'll take honorable members, we only have 12 minutes. I will take from that end. I will start there. Honorable Geshimo, Honorable Parashina, and Honorable Maungu. Here, I will take Honorable Owen, I will take Honorable Oundo, and I will take Honorable Farah. On this, I will take Honorable Mishi, I will take Honorable Mudhoni, and I will take Honorable Rahab, because we have no other women this side. Honorable Rahab. Honorable Kerema, honorable members, you are not being fair. We took three. Again.
Order, Kerema, take your seats. Okay.
Thank you, Honorable Speaker.
Just add to this round. Take another 2 there. Another 2 here. Yes. Add 2. Order, Kerema. We'll take an additional 2. So, Kerema, and I'm not picking you because you have been disobedient. Because disobedience doesn't pay. We'll take Kijimo, hold on. Wangari, take 2 here, starting with Kerema, 2 here, 2 there. In addition to what you have already taken.
Honorable members, I will take Kerema here, as directed by the Speaker, and I'll take Honorable Nyenze. On this side, I will take Elachi, and I will take DMM. On this side, I will take Chris Kirwa. I will take Honorable Makali.
Okay, members, take your seats.
Thank you.
And save time, one question or one comment.
Thank you, Honorable Speaker.
Yes, this side.
I'm gotta be strict. One question or one comment?
One question, one comment. Keep it short and precise.
Honorable Speaker, before I ask my question, I would just seek some guidance from you, Honorable Speaker.
Order, members, order. Order. Order, members. Yes, Gishimu?
May I seek your indulgence, Honorable Speaker, to seek a clarification on the timelines that have been given by Honorable Kimani Kuria, that once the report on this session of paper is tabled in the House, it ought to be considered within 28 sitting days. Sitting days. But out of the calculation of the Honorable Chair, he has calculated based on the sittings of the House. So I need your clarification whether when we sit on Tuesday, Wednesday, and Thursday, those are 4 sitting days or 4 sitting or 3 sitting days. In my construction, those are 3 sitting days. Not a sitting cannot be a day. But I seek further your guidance. But my question is this. I wouldn't want to repeat what was asked on the pending bills. But pending bills is not a fixed item.
Order, members. We are in session, please.
Pending bills.
Let's listen to one another.
Pending bills is not a fixed item. It's a moving target. What are you doing to prevent or to avoid situations of pending bills in future? You have given us the plans that you have to clear the pending bills.
You've already asked your question. Honorable members, if we go at that rate, we will not get enough time. So kindly, ask the question and don't follow it with a statement.
Thank you, Honorable Speaker.
Thank
Let
you.
me rest at that.
Thank you.
Honorable Speaker, through you, may I ask the Permanent Secretary for Treasury. As much as we are looking at macro stability on the presentation that you have shown, the presentation looks so juicy. The question is, what about the economic pains that Kenyans are going through in terms of when you talk about the sovereign wealth fund that you are creating and the program that we have introduced? I have not been able to see the physical intervention that you have given out that will be able to sort out issue to do with unemployment, issue to do with the food, like the food basket we have talked about. In 2023, a kilo of unga was going out for 77.4. 2025 you showed is 77.9. So I was like to see if there was a difference in terms of what you are introducing. So in the cost of living, wage stagnation, unemployment.
Made, Parashina. Yield the floor to somebody else.
Yeah.
You've made your point.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Next.
Okay.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker, sir.
It's not you.
Thank you.
You will come much later. Maungu.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. But PS, I will wish to say that from where I sit, I actually support the diversity program that taken by government a bid to liquidate some of the investments we have. But I have a challenge on another front. As a PS in charge of Treasury, you are the custodian of all government resources. And as the ML has said, you reign supreme because of the position you hold. Are you aware that some of the state departments that you finance for various programs as budgeted under this House actually change what has actually been approved? A case in point, State Department for Education. Yesterday we had the Minister for Education here, and as a member of the Committee of Education, last year we had a budget towards infrastructure of public schools across the country, both primary, secondary, and that was actually captured in the Appropriation Act. but what was paid is not what is actually available on the government documents, that is the parliament documents. So what is your position, or are you aware of the same? Because this assembly actually passed a budget, but the State Department for Basic Education disbursed funds to schools which were not part and parcel of what was approved. This is criminal, and I wish to find out what is your position on the same. Thank you.
Very well. Honorable Kirima.
Thank you, Honorable Speaker. Through you, Honorable Speaker, I am asking the PS as pertains to the funds we are supposed to realize from the sale of the shares of Safaricom. Safaricom, the shares are owned by the government on behalf of taxpayers. And when we talk of taxpayers, we are talking of all Kenyans, wherever they are. And on behalf of my constituency, I'm asking this. I don't mind how much they are going to cost or how valuable it is going to be. But now after the sale, since we have seen before the sale of shares of Kenya Commercial Bank, which was a public entity, Kenya Airways, and many others. When the sales of those entities was realized, it was taken to consolidated fund. This one is going to go to the infrastructure fund, as we are going to tailor it as the same as affordable housing. Now, since it's going to go to the infrastructure fund, and every Kenyan is a contributor or a owner of these shares, how are we going to benefit, especially the people of my constituency, when it goes to the infrastructure fund, and it happens that the infrastructures, the roads, which are going to be built, none of them is going to go to my constituency. Is it possible to, my question, Speaker, is this, is it possible to have equitable distribution of the sale, maybe half of it, if it's 240 billion, we have 500 million per constituency, and then the balance can go to the government, so that at least every shareholder can feel that he used to own and he has gained out of the sale of these shares. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Very well, Nyenze.
Thank you. Thank you, Speaker. My question is on the opportunity cost of selling the 15% government Safaricom shares. My concern is the loss of dividends, because we will no longer be getting these dividends, which has been a source of income. So how much dividends were we getting compared to what we'll be getting? And on the since we are investing in infrastructure, how many years will it take before we start getting these benefits? And then there's also reduced strategic influence after we sell, because we'll have only 20% retained and 2 board seats. Don't you think that this will affect the company's future directions, since the number of board members will be reduced? Thank you.
Thank you, Honorable Owen.
Thank you, Speaker. I just want to say this. It's 15 years, PS, since the Equalization Fund, which is set in Article 204, actually a constitutional fund. And this Equalization Fund, 15 years now, my questions are, has the objective of the Equalization Fund been met? Because money has been disbursed. And if you go back to those areas which were meant to receive that money, you actually see no difference. I read that there is an Equalization Fund board, that advisory board that manages this fund. But have they done an M&E to see the impact? Otherwise, is this like a slush fund that is just actually used by people? It's just a fund that is resources of the government that are being wasted. Or is it actually meeting that? And what would be your, if you would have a problem of bringing that fund to Parliament and set up a board, same as NGCDF, so that we actually have a clear structure? Sometimes I ask myself, who do I ask about Equalization Fund for my constituency or my county? Some of the money goes to the county government, some of it goes to the national government through the county commissioner. And there is a lot of unexplainable work within this area. PS, please.
Point made.
Let us know what this equalization fund has done for the country up to this level.
Oundo.
Thank you, Speaker. Thank you, PS. I just want to put to you, PS, that in one of your presentations, you have spoken about merging state corporation from 42 to 20. You want to dissolve 25 corporations, and you want to win off 13 professional bodies from the exchequer. In respect of the merger and dissolution, you have not given us any timelines, because these timelines are important, because these state corporations have members of staff, have obligations, have everything. We need to be very clear to avoid a situation of causing anxiety and causing probably delay or failure to deliver on their mandate. Speaker, I would want to refrain from commenting on Safaricom shares, the vesture, for now, because I'll have my time on the floor of the House. But as we do so, it is important that we put into mind a few issues. First of all, there are Capital Market Authority regulations on how to deal with divestiture. There is, of course, the IVS 2025, then the IFRS 13. So that's where the debate will have to be. But as I conclude, we have always said, us, the valuers, the best market sentiment is to place the asset on the market, let people go and auction and determine the true intrinsic value from the eye of the purchaser and from also on the position of the seller. Thank you, Speaker.
Member for Wajir West.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. And Madam Chair, my question goes to the Chair of Finance. And my question is, and even the PS, what we are selling today as Kenyans, the shares 15%, is through the hard work of some Kenyans called dealers, who started with Safaricom from inception, invested a lot of money, and exactly the value today you are valuing your 15% is through the hard work of those Kenyans. And in this aspect of all structure, they are not there, and with the history with Vodacom, wherever they have acquired shares in other world, they weed off or they weed off the dealers. What are we doing as Kenyans to protect 5 million workers who are working for those dealers and the dealers who have invested all along up to date?
Thank you.
To make this. Number two, I have the second question, Madam Speaker, is about
we said one question, Farah.
And you made it too long, even that one question.
E-procurement. As we, today, we have done six months of the budget, and all departments of this country have not done any procurement for developmental budget because of e-procurement. What is the government doing to ease that problem? Thank you.
Thank you, Elachi.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. Thank you, Speaker. And I want to also thank the PS. Mine, PS, is just to ask, you've done as Treasury a lot of undertaking with many big companies. For example, the Expressway company, the company that did Expressway. You went through a court process, you lost the ruling. And now KRA has decided to use this ruling to send a lot of demands to many companies. So is Treasury going to honor, or is it back now to the taxpayers or to us to pay now through what Treasury had honored? And why we are also very afraid of this privatization is the question people are asking. Is the money going to go to the consolidated bank, then to the consolidated fund? Then you are able to trace and audit that the money came in and went to the project and we are able to see? And is Parliament going to really oversight this infrastructure fund?
Thank you, DMM.
Thank you, Honorable Speaker. PS, Dr.
Hold
Kipto.
on, Honorable Nyamai, what is out of order?
Thank you very much, Madam Chair. Thank you, Honorable Speaker. I would like to raise a matter which is very close to what the Honorable Elachi said, and I think Honorable Ishungwa tried to go there, and also the Honorable Geshimo. Honorable Speaker, this concerns Article 206 of the Constitution, and clearly concerning the infrastructure fund as it relates to the consolidated fund. Honorable Speaker, I would like to ask, why is it that the Cabinet Secretary and the PS, or rather executive, has not brought a bill concerning the infrastructure fund, so that we are assured that the money is ring-fenced? Because we have debts, we have pending bills, and we have all sorts of bills, and we can have a situation whereby we specifically, we come up with the infrastructure fund. But because of pressing interest, the money goes to other places.
Honorable Rachel, you've made your point, and
Yeah,
you've asked
thank you very
the
much,
same
Madam
questions
Chair.
that has been asked. Honorable DMM.
Yeah, thank you, Honorable Speaker. PS, Dr. Kipto, you've painted a very good picture about the macroeconomics. The foreign reserves, the rate of inflation, the sixth largest economy, the exchange rate. But on the other hand, the ordinary Kenyan, their verdict of the performance of the economy is speaking very differently. Look at the number of Kenyans who are registered on SHA versus those who are contributing. And you see a very big challenge in terms of contribution to SHA. Look at the education sector and the number of households that could not take their children to grade 10 just last week. Look at the number of households that are reaching out to special programs for food. When are we going to connect this gain at the macroeconomic level to the microeconomic level at the household level, so Kenyans can enjoy this lossy picture that we are painting up here?
Thank you.
We are talking about the future, sovereign wealth and infrastructure funds. But Kenyans are asking, why are we not talking about our life now?
Thank you very much. Mishi?
Thank you. Thank you, Honorable Speaker. Honorable Speaker, my question is on state corporation, but I just want to be very specific, and I need some clarity from our Principal Secretary. We have heard about the merging of some state corporation, and I'm just talking about Kenya Fishing Industries Corporation, KFIC. This corporation is really assisting those regions where we do fishing. In fact, it is very instrumental. It is linking the fishing industry and the fishermen together with the government. And right now, they have done so many projects. In fact, right now, they are building a 25-ton vessel for the fishermen, our BMUs. Now we are hearing that it's either going to be dissolved or it's going to be merged with a certain state corporation. We don't know which one. And we are asking if it's going to be dissolved or rather being merged, what will happen to these all activities they are doing for our fishermen, our BMU, and the fishing industry at large. I'm asking that because we are really worried as people from the areas where fishing is done, the Nyanza region, the Coast region, in fact, the other regions within the country. The other one is Coast Development Authority. This is the only state corporation within the Coast region, the CDA, and what we are hearing is that it's going to be closed. They have done quite a number of some projects, And they have done also so many proposals, including Mwache Dam, which is now being done by the government, but it came from CDA, the Coast Development Authority. And there's so many other projects in terms of schools, in terms of boreholes and others. And now if it's going to be closed, what will happen to the workers, to the staffs, that is, to those projects which they have started? Are they going to be stalled projects, or are they going to be taken to those other state entities which are going to be merged with? So what will happen? And also, can we have the list of those state corporations which are going to be merged, and they are merged with which other entities, so that we can be clear and we can know what will be the implications. Thank you, Honorable Speaker.
Thank you, Honorable Mudhoni.
Thank you. Thank you, Madam Speaker. Madam Speaker, my question is directed to the PS, and I want to thank him for the very educative and insightful presentation that he has made today. But Madam Speaker, I want to speak on behalf of the pensioners of this country. Madam Speaker, I want to ask the PS, one, pension is a contributory scheme whereby the worker contributes, especially teachers, they contribute 7.5% of their salary every month, and the government also tops up 15% of that amount. And Madam Speaker, it is well known that Kenyan workers retire at the age of 60 years.
Please don't make a speech, Honorable Mudhoni. Ask the
Honorable
question.
Speaker, I'm asking this because my question to the PS is, what becomes so difficult in computing this money so that as the workers retire, they don't wait for this money year in, year out, Madam Speaker? Because our pensioners, Honorable Speaker, they are suffering, and most cases it's a matter of documents, so that there are a lot of bureaucracies in the ministry which owns back this money, Madam Speaker. And the pensioners, especially teachers, they suffer for more than even 5 years, Honorable Speaker. What reforms is the ministry putting in place to ensure that once someone retires, the money follows the next
You've
month?
made your
Thank
point, Honorable Mukami.
Thank you, Honorable Speaker and peers. My questions goes to Honorable Kimani. Safaricom is declaring the dividends on that 1st March. And the government want to sell the shares before that 1st March. Why can't we delay and sell after that 1st March so that we can't lose the dividends? The other question goes to the PS. PS, the Kenya Revenue Authority has announced that from 1st January, it's going to implement the automated framework, e-teams. Is the 2026 implementation timeline realistic given current adoption? PS, SMEs, most of them, they buy things from the formal suppliers who are not registered with KRA and do not issue e-teams invoices. For example, if you go to a market, you want to buy beans, that Mama Soko will not give you an e-teams. Yet, if I go and supply those beans in the government, I am supposed now to go and knock out whatever they have paid from them. What are we going to do about that? Because if you use Boda Boda, they are not going to give you e-teams. What are we going to do?
Thank you. Very well. Honorable Kirwa.
Yes, thank you, Madam Speaker. My question is to the PS. I've been watching very closely the value of the shilling to a dollar. It is ranging between 129, 130, and 131. It is going to 3 years when the exchange rate is still at that figure. Why is it that it cannot come down to 120? Why is it cannot come to 110 or even go up to 175? What are we doing to keep a shilling at 129 to a dollar? Thank you.
Thank you very much. Honorable Makali, and not Makali Mulu. David.
Thank you, the session chair and speaker for the occasion. My question is directed to the PS Treasury. Last year, the government made a deliberate decision to divest from public sugar mills. At the time of divesting from the public sugar mills to list them out, there were arrears due to farmers, due to employees, and due to retirees. We thank the government for taking a step to pay some arrears due to the farmers. But we still have arrears that are due to farmers. And we still have arrears due to employees who are employed in the public sugar mills. Right now, as we speak, Bwana CS, and I want to speak specifically for Nzoia Sugar, there are arrears of 63 million shillings due to farmers, and there are 1.5 billion shillings due to employees. Some of those employees have now been rendered redundant. They are owed 22 months salary arrears. They have children to go to school, they have households to meet, and right now, as we speak, Bwana PS, all the employees of Nzoia Sugar are on the streets demonstrating and picketing, demanding their salary arrears and even retirees. We want to know from the PS, when are these arrears?
Not just Kenyan citizens that requiring that Kenyan citizens be additional directors in the company, that's requiring that the leadership of Safaricom PLC should remain headed by a Kenyan. And so these are some of the safeguards that because decisions in a company is made in the boardroom through the directors. So there's that assurance, there's more directors, independent directors being provided for, who must be Kenyan citizen, and the CEO must continue being Kenyan. So that takes care of the question that Honorable Nyenze had asked. The issue of what Mheshimiwa from Meru asked, Bishop asked, if you were to take 500 million shillings and give to 290 constituencies, that would be 1.43 trillion shillings. This transaction is only 260 billion shillings. But of course, the PS would address that question better. How to ensure there is equity in terms of the use of that particular money?
Point of order, through Speaker. The chairman is misleading us. It's not giving us the truth as it is, because if it's 290 billion, you divide by constituencies which are there, that is 291 constituencies. It will be 291 billion. So if you divide by 500, it will be 145 billion. Then the balance can go to the government. As simple as that.
Is
simple mathematics?
Is that mathematics in Chinese or which language?
Just ordinary.
Your numbers sound strange, Karima.
Maybe you are not getting what I'm saying. We are saying that the figure we are about to realize after the sale is 240 billion. Yes. And we have...
How many constituents do we have?
291.
290.
290, yes, sorry, 290.
Yes.
So if you take a billion per constituency, it will be if it is 291, it will be, if it will be 290, it will be 290 billion. As simple as that. Simple mathematics.
Simple
if you divide, if you have it divided into just 500 million,
you've
not
made
billion.
Your point. Simple mathematics, strange economics. Yes.
I don't want to argue on the numbers, but your numbers are completely, let me not comment. On the issue of dealers, which was a very valid matter raised, it's for a fact. Dealers of Safaricom constitute a very huge constituency. In fact, Safaricom dealers employ directly and indirectly around 3 million people. And therefore, it is absolutely important that we safeguard the interest of those particular dealers. They appeared before our committee, and one of the asks, we thought that there is a redundancy. The diversity talks about a redundancy clause of 3 years, but 3 years is not sufficient. There is also something they mentioned to us about what's called residual income, because they have invested. The Safaricom shops you see in our towns is not owned by Safaricom. It is investment of private Kenyans. And therefore, it is absolutely necessary that we safeguard that particular business. Yes, it is true. In some instances, for example, how Vodacom operates in South Africa, they do not recognize that residual income for dealers. And therefore, there is that risk. And I want to assure you that jointly with the Committee of Privatization, one of the things we are really considering is having an express clause in, that we propose into the House to make sure that there is conservation of the interests of the Safaricom dealers in this particular transaction. So at least we make sure that, if it's really working, why fix it? We have 5 million Kenyans that are working in that particular business. Why would you want to close that particular business? I think those are the questions that were.
Take him the mic. Yes, what's your point of order?
Thank you so much, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, I think the chairman is not answering the question people are asking. And I want to put it the way it should be. The question being asked is, after this deal goes through, Kenya government will not have a shareholding of 20%. Now, when you start saying you put conditions to a shareholder who has 55%, how realistic is that? That's the question you're asking. Because as you put conditions on who will be heading the institution, but your shareholding will only be 20%. That's the thing you should clarify to us.
But it's been like that
even. The sale of this particular share agreement between Vodacom and GOK must be done according to our laws, to our constitution and our PFM. It's not just a discussion between. It's not what Vodacom wants. It is sale of public shares, and it must be done according to our laws. And what does the PFM Act say? That this particular proposal must come to Parliament, and Parliament must give it express authority or approval. How does Parliament do that particular approval? It is through the sessional paper that was tabled by the leader of Majority Party on 5th of December. What measures do we have as a House? Approve it as it is, reject it, or approve with amendments. So if we add a clause that says the transaction must only be complete in this particular way, that would mean the National Treasury, in their transaction agreement with Vodacom, must put that as a condition for that particular sale. And once it's put there in writing and becomes a contract, it will become binding to the two shareholding parties. Thank you.
PS. Yes. There's a lady down. Yes. Give me this mic.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I want to speak to only two issues. Much as we hear that the economy has grown, vitu kwa ground ni tofauti. The common person cannot feel it. And I know this is because of reduced disposable income. And this reduced disposable income is due to high tax rate to the salaried people. That is one. What you intend to do about salaried people and tax rates. Number two, I want to speak to pending bills. At some point, we were told that you are going to pay pending bills. And the moment you pay bills, that means that people are going to have, business people will go back to their business. Business people will have more money to spend, and the spending power is going to be increased in the economy. I also want to speak to the issue of VAT special table. This VAT special table has become a monster to businesses in Kenya. Businesses are shutting down, and I'm just wondering, can't you explore another way of ensuring compliance of VAT without necessarily having to shut down businesses? Because when you shut down a business, the effects are so far-reaching.
We have people who lose their jobs. We have people who cannot even get money to whatever to spend on food. You have no idea what it means when you shut down a Kenyan business. So explore other ways apart from the VAT special table.
Yes, take note of those other two core issues and respond to them.
Thank you. Can see.
We will have another round. Okay, what is the issue? There's Honorable. Yeah.
Maybe I take this question.
Can we have another round after the PS has responded? Yes. Okay. PS, proceed and respond to the issues that were raised.
Thank you very much, Honorable Speaker. I think the chairman already responded to Gishimo, Honorable Gishimo, on the timelines. And on the issue of pending bills, which has been asked by many members, I want to confirm that this is a matter we are taking very seriously. I hope I can be heard.
Order, honorable members, order.
So first, we have instituted reforms. We have said there must be disclosure in our books going forward on any pending bills. To achieve that, we have moved away from cash accounting to accrual accounting. So beginning last July, going forward, all our accounts will be showing, all our financial statements will be showing pending bills. Unlike when we were doing cash accounting, where currently that 660 billion, which was being verified, was nowhere in our books. It's neither debt nor expenditures which have already been paid. So the verification has been done. We have what is determined payable will be approved by cabinet, and we have indicated we are going to provide for payment. We'll come back to you for approval through supplementary and through main budget to clear. We have said also no further accumulation of pending bills. We will work hard to finance the budgets which you have approved. Of course, depending on how exchequer moves. But we have also indicated reforms we have taken to do twinning, for instance, to avoid accounting officers changing and therefore cherry picking on who to pay and who not to pay. That will be a thing of the past. And we are moving now to the counties to have the same. Honorable Parashima, I think.
Yes, what's your clarification, MP for Gichugu?
I'm just seeking a clarification. I asked, what measures are you putting in place to avoid pending bills in future? Would you consider allowing projects to proceed only when funds are available? Because what creates pending bill is that once we pass a budget, procurements proceed, but these monies may not be available eventually because either a supplementary budget may remove that money or there are no exchequer releases.
Let me answer this way.
Yes.
I know you have said the PS Treasury and the CS has powers. I want to confirm to you that we operate within the legal framework through the PFM and all the other laws of the land. So there is no way we can act outside the legal and regulatory framework that exists. All we are doing is to do what is within our powers. And we have indicated to you the reforms we are taking. And if we are also able to improve our revenues, and this is why I spend time here to discuss about the things we need to do to raise enough revenues to finance our budget, it becomes easy. I have indicated that by December this year, we were lagging behind in terms of revenue to the tune of 136 billion. So if we were earmarked to pay that, clearly we can't pay without the revenue. So it will reflect in, but I've told you also that we are doing our best to make sure that we get money from other ways to ensure by June, at least we pay. And you'll recognize that we did last year successfully, This year, successfully, we hope to be successful and going forward, together with the other measures we have indicated. So let's clear the history and work together to make sure we avoid further accumulation of pending bills, including also implementing the fast charge rule, so that you pay what was previous year from the existing budget, then we come to you for ratification of the same and maybe further amendments. If you can allow me to proceed, I can see Mheshimiwa there is really keen to. So,
be another round. Allow the PS to finish.
Honorable Parashima, I know you have indicated about the economic pain points for Kenyans. And I agree that there are those who may not feel this. But the facts are clear. We only measure cost of living through many ways. Purchasing power index, we say producer price index. There's something called GDP deflator, consumer price index. For our own situation, we use consumer price index. And I presented to you. Maybe someone can help me put the same slide again so that I make my point. But I want to say this. Through the better approach, you have allocated funds to fertilizer. And we have sufficient fertilizer to Wananchi. Because of that fertilizer, we have had increased food security. And so the fiscal measures have helped us to reduce food prices. Move to the next. Yeah, that one. So if you look at 1 kilogram of maize flour, maybe look at the number 3. In November 2023, you would pay 72 shillings on average. Look at it, by December this year, you would pay 69. It's an improvement of 3 shillings. That is, and I don't know how somebody can say, I did not feel. Because you don't, if you are using your money, you are using less of what you had earlier. And the same thing for the rest. Of course, addressing cost of living, and I don't want to come here and lie to say, oh, we have succeeded fully. We have made progress, but there's still a lot that is required to be done. So,
what's your point of order? What's out of order? Take him, give him the mic.
Thank you very much. I think PS, what you need to address is real wage. Because real wage from Kenya National Statistics, Bureau of Statistics, has declined by 12%. And that's what we need to address, not the inflation. Inflation, you can get it. But what about the real wage? So because even if the things go down, are people able to buy them? That's the issue, what we are...
I hear you.
Yes.
But when you talk about real wage, you are talking about people who are earning. There are people who are not necessarily earning wages. So I'm just responding to this. You know it, Mheshimiwa, you are in treasury like me. And I'm sure you are familiar with what I'm talking about. So let me move to Honorable Maungu, Dick Maungu. I think it's unfortunate if anyone has changed the vote as you passed. It's very clear, PFM section 40 requires that if you have to reallocate, you must come to National Treasury and seek reallocation, then come back to Parliament. Perhaps I'll need to check about this issue of State Department for Irrigation, because I don't have the facts. But they are supposed to operate within the law. Honorable Kirima. We will set up a national infrastructure fund. And the principle is that that fund will be used to support commercially viable projects. Now, when you talk of equity, it may not be possible that you can have viable projects in every part of Kenya. But where there are viable projects, those projects will be producing for Kenya. I don't think every constituency is contributing taxes in the same way. Some constituencies may have farms that are paying more, others may be paying less. But when you come to vote at the National Assembly, we still vote without providing that kind of equity. So I think the issue is that
there is nothing out of order. Let him carry on.
So
carry on. Order, Kirima. This morning you are becoming rowdy.
May I ask that I be allowed to finish? And I also wanted to say there will be deliberate efforts also through the budget to support like marginalized areas. I know people of Northeastern, for instance. Yes. Yeah, no, this does not mean we are excluding regions that don't have commercially viable projects. There will be other ways to fund. Like social dams cannot be implemented through NIF. We will have to provide budget for those social dams. It does not mean that we will stop funding social dams or those which are not commercially viable. I think it's important to take note. So let me go to Honorable Nyenze.
PS, you have to be faster than you are doing.
Okay. Dividends, I want to say last year we got 16 billion from Safaricom as dividends. This year we have received 9 billion, and the remaining quarter we expect to raise. And we believe that 31st March we will be able to know what will accrue to us. One thing I want to say is that Airtel is like Safaricom. It's one of those institutions dealing with telecom. But Airtel is 100% owned by Bharti Airtel Group. That's Airtel Africa. And they have had to get regulatory authority to operate without shareholding of local investors. But they are still operating in our market. I want to just say what the chairman said is that change of shareholding does not mean Safaricom will not be subscribed to the laws of the land. Honorable Bayer, I have indicated I will provide a report on the equalization fund. And I know you want impact analysis. We'll ask our team to work on it. Honorable Ohundo, about mergers, they are continuing, and this is something that we expect that this be done within this financial year or next, and up to next financial year. Cabinet never approved that we have to send anyone home. So no employee in this merger will lose unless they are properly compensated. And no projects will be left because mergers have been undertaken. Honorable Yusuf Fari, I think the issue of dealers, there was an arrangement that for 3 years, even with this divestiture, no employee will lose their job. Kenyans will continue being in the board, including the chairman. And of course, there can be no guarantee that in the future things change, because sometimes situations change and businesses change their model based on the situation obtaining. Honorable Elachi, assurances of use of funds. There will be no funds used from the infrastructure fund that will not have been approved by Parliament. Honorable Nyamai, the issue of infrastructure fund and consolidated fund, I think we have already addressed that. Then Honorable Madenke, I think I've answered your question on the macro versus micro. Mishi Boko, I want to assure you that the mergers will not affect the projects. We will ensure that the projects that are existing continue.
Madenge, what's out of order? What's out of order, Madenge?
I said that the report card from Wananchi is based on their inability to contribute to SHA, their inability to take their children for grade 10, the appeal to the State Department for Social Programs for relief food. None of those items, Bwana PS, is on your presentation there. So you cannot tell me you have answered my question. None of the items I cited here are on that table.
I think you are right, but I acknowledge in my presentation that the budget we have presented is not adequate. I acknowledge that there is not enough funding for capitation and others. So I'm not sure whether I should be able to address all this now.
Honorable PS, this was my simple, straightforward. The macroeconomics are good. The consumer of the macroeconomics are the ordinary Kenyan households. The report card they are giving you is saying they are now is very difficult. When will your success in the macroeconomics translate to the success in their households?
So that's a question to be answered by Kenyans. We have given the report. It's for Kenyans to make a judgment.
Order.
May I proceed, please? Honorable Ikiara Mudoni. Yes, we have two types of schemes for pension. We have defined contribution and defined benefits. For the defined contribution, where most of the teachers are, their money will go to Public Service Superannuation Fund. And that's a fund that is functioning well, is fully funded. We have no arrears even as National Treasury. And you will find that that fund is working. Anyone who retires will get their money. The one on defined benefits is what is still under the National Treasury, which we have worked very hard to make sure that we fully fund it. We have had delays here and there, but I think I indicated that there are reforms which have been instituted, including online registration, and now pensioners have been asked to, no one will be paid without being registered online. Then we have worked with public service to get the payroll system so that as soon as someone is leaving, we get the data and it goes straight to the pension department and the pension will be paid. So if we could give a report of the recent past so that you see what action we have taken to address that issue, because we have made a lot of progress on that front. Honorable Mukami, you know, I've been told to rush, so I am listening to the speaker. And I indicated no projects will be left, no workers will lose their jobs, even with the mergers. That is the instructions we have. So no one should be worried that they will lose their jobs because there is a merger. Some will be sent back to the ministry or absorbed in the new entity that will be formed. But at least we'll avoid paying rent where it's not necessary, and incurring other utility costs which are not necessary. We will give you the list of affected institutions. Then I think Honorable Mukami, that must have been a question for Chairman. Honorable Kirwa, the stable shilling. Our policy as government of Kenya is that we have a competitive, a market-determined exchange rate. Market-determined exchange rate means the central bank can only move in. Currently, where it is a reflection of production of sugar has gone up, and imports have gone down. We paid last year. We made deliberate efforts to pay, and
that shaking his hand? Eh? Wainaina?
Revenue collection by November was at 35%. We were also informed that there is a low absorption of development funds, yet since we are about to start another budget cycle. That is my concern. Thank you.
You want 2 minutes?
Next.
Pasaris. Wainaina, and then Wainaina, wait.
Go to it to indicate the other side. Go to it to indicate the other side of KRA. when those people, when you pay police station, he was taken to KRA. And when he was taken to KRA, it was accused that that receipt is fake. But let alone, because we closed the business, they closed the business and the business was closed. 100,000 at my company. And that receipt, 100,000 at my company. And that receipt for that customer, because the failure is on KRA side, he claimed VAT with that receipt. The customer, the client, claimed the VAT with that receipt.
First thing, Mr. Speaker, we've really gone and prosecuted the issue of pending bills. I want the PS to really tell me. I mean, we come up with a law that says give the youth X amount, give the women X amount, all right, in terms of procurement. And then we don't pay them, and then you stand there and you say that they have to pay the VAT, okay? So for me, I feel that our majority leader also questioned you on the same. I think we need, so for me, I feel we need a law, a government law, to review the lawyers' advocates' remuneration, because this is ridiculous. It's another corruption avenue that we're not dealing with. And when it comes to your infrastructure, Safaricom shares for the Sovereign Fund, for the Infrastructure Fund, I'm all for it. But at the end of the day, Kenyans who own shares in Safaricom want to know that it will not be controlled by external forces. We will still have managerial control. And that didn't come out very clear. Thank you.
Maingi, did you have a question or you are just...
Thank you, Mr.
If
Businesses.
you
seek this
just remind
special
him to answer your
VAT
question.
table. Are you going to continue shutting Kenyan businesses, or are you going to explore other ways of ensuring compliance?
Well done. Thank you. Daud Wajia, the last.
Thank you, Bwana Speaker. My question, actually, I will only ask one question.
Pardon?
I will ignore all the other questions I have. I will ask the last question.
You are entitled to only one. Ask.
Okay. When the PS was giving his answer on the infrastructure fund, the National Infrastructure Fund, he said that it is only going to be used for...
Thank you, Speaker, and thank you, Chair, for requesting Chair to give me a chance. Chair, I was listening to last week but one. We had a meeting with the Treasury, and when they are presenting, it was like the deal they have is the best deal. And when the Chair was presenting the methodologies, valuation methodologies, we got a value for share for 36.62 shillings. And Speaker, the PS said they are option. They are open for better option. Are you going for this better option, which was, are we going to see a piece of, and if yes, when are we going to see a piece of legislation in Parliament for debate and enactment? Thank you very much.
Sunguli, what is your point of order? What have you been speaking as?
Mr. Speaker, my point of order is actually for your guidance, because the...
You only ask one.
Okay,
This is not a lecture room.
Let me ask one.
Yes.
The PS did indicate that the solution to our challenges, one of them would be zero-based budgeting, and the other one would be single treasury account. Mr. Speaker, these issues of infrastructural fund bill,
I didn't get
please bring it to the House.
I didn't get the question. Repeat again.
You didn't get what?
Second last question, to expand the economy. Meanwhile, we still have to, because we are not, this money is not coming to budget, it means we have to still carry on with the fiscal consolidation exercise that we are undertaking. And of course, Kenyans have a right also to take action against measures which have been taken by institutions which don't comply with the law. And so, Honorable Pasari's pending bills, I have indicated we are going to work hard to sort all those pending bills. We will, the intention is that if we pay, we will start with a small value, which are likely to affect by women and youth, because those are by women and youth, because those are the majority. And
I think it was Wainaina had asked about KRA, and I think you have just said you'll find out about what happened to his case. But Mr. Speaker, we have seen Kenyans committing suicide because of KRA, where a person does business with government, the government have not paid, and then they claim, KRA comes to you that you are supposed to pay and you have not received payment. And we know a lot of our business people, you have also taken a loan in the bank.
VAT because you have not been paid. The law you have VAT because you have not been paid. The law you have made, it is you who have made the law.
Wainaina, what is it?
Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Yes.
Mr. PS, what I'm complaining about, there is a board who are there, who are kept that sole problem of the client. But those people, those board, they are the one who...
And Nairobi County, that came from the court. If the court rules and says so and so should be paid this much, that now is also another legal matter. Why would even our court, our judges who exist and in this Kenya, they know the financial situation of our country, make outrageous, awards. I think also it needs to be done in a manner that reflects the fiscal reality. Honorable Maingi, for special VAT, I think I've indicated this. We can't. It has to. We have to operate within the legal framework. Honorable Mboni, the valuation that was presented by chairman showed 24 shillings, one valuation method, another method was 24 shillings, and the one that gives us the highest is 36. So on average, that would be 6. So on average, that would give us 25. And I think on zero-based budgeting, we are already implementing. Thank you very much. Is there anything that I've left? Oh yeah, this is Dawood. For other regulations that will govern us even as we administer this. Other regulations that will govern us even as we administer this fund. Thank you very much.
Dawood, on issues of commercial viability, Dawood.
Honorable Sinkuli,
No.
on the timeline, I'm happy to submit even tomorrow if you are still around, because it's something that I can call my team and then that is prepared and submit while you are here.
The PS has undertaken to take note of everything that was said and done. Whatever that were raised, and to go back to his office and see the areas that he needs to come back to us and give us a further clarification or take certain positions. On the issue of the infrastructural development, 1965 is different from 2026. What was essentially commercially viable those days, or what was called high potential areas, that potential has been exhausted. The potential now is what was essentially ignored in the olden days, which is what's called the arid and semi-arid areas. That's where the infrastructure is going to go largely. That is where the...
Thank you.
Thank you. And Dawood, I'm sure you know that the sessional paper number 10 was a grand conspiracy to marginalize parts of Kenya. It is dead, it is buried, it is not there. You should also be candid enough to appreciate, and this has been said over and over, and I thought Kipto would say, that there are billions and billions of shillings from World Bank and other sources that are doing mega road projects in northern Kenya. And many of us have been cheering this. That is important to open up northern Kenya to be part of this country. All the big roads that are going on in northern Kenya, I've not heard anybody, Milemba or anybody, saying we are being marginalized. Because you are part of Kenya, you must be part of Kenya. Yes. And even the president has said, Dawood, hold your horses. Okay, Wanjala Sahara. And I come to Northern with you. And there are more new roads coming up in Northern Kenya than even regions like Western. And we are okay with that because we are correcting historical injustices. Honorable members, if you look at your supplementary program, we have now to have the Minister for Security, but the majority leader will inform us because I tasked him to get the minister what has transpired so that we move to the next issue. Majority Leader. When Majority Leader finishes, I will lead you very briefly on matters of the pension amendment bill by Makali Mulu